Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Anish Gupta.
I'm Jared Revian.
So we got Jared back. It's been a while, bro. Obviously, Jared is one of my good friends ever since we've started this podcast. And again, please tune into his page, Bengals Central. And he's also got his own podcast, the Who Dey Nation one. So please go check it out. I love his podcast. I love his work. And again, he's been a great friend of mine through this journey. And Jared, again, thank you so much for coming on, bro. Floor is yours, man. Give us the thoughts, because we're recording this right after the game. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I knew we were going to get a motivated Baker Mayfield tonight, and he came out. He balled out. Offensive line for you guys really did wonders without having Jack Conklin in there. I think Chris Hubbard, right? That's his name. He really stepped it up for you guys at tackle tonight. He did his thing. And honestly, I'm not even mad with the results. I think the more talented team on paper won tonight, and that's just how it rolled. Burrow came out, and that was my biggest thing. I think these first few weeks have been because you always get the number one pick, and the big question is, can he perform? Can he do what a number one pick is supposed to do? And we got that in Burrow. Burrow dropped back more than 60 times tonight, and he didn't throw one interception. And 3 touchdowns, and he was still very efficient through the air on 60 passes. So for me as a fan, after seeing that, I'm okay with losing this game. It's going to take time for the Bengals as far as they come from their standpoint. It's going to take time for them to become a dominant team in the league. And Burrow just showing his progress from week 1 to week 2. You can already tell he's improving, getting better from there. So it's only going to go up from there. The defense, we have a lot to work on still. Not having Geno Atkins and Mike Jenkins,
that was a huge.
Yeah, that definitely hurt them a lot. But shout out to the Browns, man. They really came out. The defense really did their thing too. Myles Garrett, he's a beast. Got after the – that was the game-changing play after that play. Changed everything. But even Baker too, he did make that one mistake, but other than that, he was on tonight. And that's the thing too I've noticed is whenever Baker's motivated like that, he's gonna come out and do his thing. So,
you're right.
He did his thing, so shout out to him.
Dude, just kind of what you're saying too. Guys, I told Jared too when I asked him to hop on after the game. One of us was going to be happy and the other one was not going to be as happy. But if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm actually motivated for this game. What I saw from Joe Burrow, as much as you got to admit, there were some calls that were a little bit iffy with the PI and the holding on Richardson. But again, I think Burrow played great. Like, this was an insane – even Troy Aikman said it himself. He's never thrown more than 60 passes in his career. And you're asking a guy in his second start to do that? I really thought they should have ran the ball a lot more. I thought they were getting some good looks with Joe Mixon throughout the game in the beginning of the first half. I know they fell down a little bit, but, they never fell down more than 12 points in the second half. So I thought they could have stuck with it a little bit more, but Joe Burrow was really good. 4th down, you go 5 for 5. That is a very promising sign. That's bad on our defense, but – dude, this dude looks really good with his legs and his arm. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm excited. Like, this guy can win you divisions. This guy is someone I would want to ride with. He looked motivated throughout it. He was never how would I say that? He was never out of the game. It was never a done deal. You could bring up the fact that he threw 61 passes, but the fact that he didn't throw a pick, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, was efficient throughout the game. I really like that. The Browns' offensive line, something I would never in a million years have said, played exceptional. Oh my, 0 sacks? I can't believe, when I look back on it, I can't believe we got 0 sacks allowed. And Baker Mayfield, because I don't know if you saw, but I was on the record by saying this: if we lost this game, season was over. I really thought they wouldn't have made the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to say they're a playoff team or anything like that. I'm not going to say this team is going to go far, because I think Washington's another tough test. But this team looked really good. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. DJ Reader had a decent game. But
DJ Reader, all he's going to do there is slow the run down.
Which
DJ's not going to get much of a
I think it was the outside he can't really have an impact on. But the inside, I think they did okay. But you're right. It's just Hubbard really stepped up, which is something I wouldn't have said ever. And the running game was just too hard to handle. Also, I think at times Jackson was getting burnt by Odell, I think, throughout the entire game. But he stepped up on that one play when he got the free coverage on I think it was Harrison Bryant, where he got the pick. And I thought that was a great play. Sorry?
They were in a zone scheme on that.
Yeah. I think Hodge ran away, so it allowed Jackson to come back on the ball. which I think the Bengals, the best thing about this team was they kept it in it. And you know what? A win's a win, but also you got to tip your hat off to the Cincinnati Bengals for keeping themselves in it despite, their defense not playing well. But I mean, is there any players that you want to maybe shout out or like comment on for the Bengals that did well or particularly bad?
Just off the top of my mind, like how can you not shout out like Joe Burrow? I mean, the dude was getting cracked back there at quarterback. He was getting cracked, and he still got up. He still led this team. He led this offense, and he was just like a game. Like the fact that we only lost by 5 tonight, with how bad the defense played. In years past, with other Bengals teams, we've seen them roll over.
Yeah.
But that just shows when you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback, you're never out of the game.
And all the sacks he evaded too. Like there were so many times. Did you remember that play where like Tavierre Thomas, number 20, just free rush, literally free, and he couldn't even tackle that. Like there were so many throws that he made too that were just impeccable, and some of them were on AJ Green. We got to talk about that. 13 targets and 3 catches. Yeah, and Denzel Ward was a stud this game. I think both of us were tipping our hats off to him. 3 passes defended. The dude was everywhere tonight. But, I mean, AJ Green, come on. I know it's been a while since he's, been on the field for a long period of time, but what are your thoughts on AJ Green tonight?
AJ definitely needs to step it up a little bit. He has some balls that were thrown his way that should have been catches that AJ Green would usually make. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I still think he's getting the flow of things, second game back. He definitely could have put a better performance together, but I think looking into it, the Browns' goals of the game were to first take that run game away with Mixon. They did that successfully, and then their second goal on defense was to shut AJ Green down. And I think they did a really good job of having that cornerback on him, whether it was Denzel Ward or the other guy's Mitchell, 39, right?
He had a good game too.
He had a good game too. Whether it was them, they had either one of their best corners on him, and they had safety help over the top every single time. So it was hard for AJ to get going, but I think shout out to the Browns for game plan. Their game plan was awesome. Whether it was offense, defense, they really came out. They did what they had to do, and I think they're definitely one of the more streaky teams in the league. But I've been saying it for a while. Roster wise, talent wise, they're one of the most talented teams in the league. And when they're on, they're on. It's just whether or not
streaky is a perfect word. I think that I've never mentioned that, but that's a perfect word to use now when I describe them. But I mean, here's the thing though. The Bengals now we've seen 2 games, and also both these teams were on a short week, and I think both really had a good offensive game plan going into it. Yeah. Both games were good games from the Cincinnati Bengals team. Even we can date back to last year against the Seahawks where they lost by 1. Like they played well early in the year, and even against the Niners, they kept it a little bit close last year, and then it kind of pulled away from them. But for Cincinnati, there's so much to look forward to, though. But would you say that this is like? Would you say there's any facets of the game that could be heavily improved on? Because I thought the Bengals played really well to what we expected.
I mean, even a lot of people have been trashing on Bobby Hart, our right tackle, but I honestly think he had a great game tonight. And the one area where I want to say this, coming into the year, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but we need to get more pressure on the quarterback. There were times where Baker Mayfield was sitting back there for 5 seconds, and I don't care. Like, Baker had a good game, but any single quarterback who's in the NFL can sit behind a line in a perfect pocket for 5 seconds and hit a receiver who's wide open down the field.
Yeah.
The pass rush was just non-existent tonight, and I think that has a lot to do with Carlos Dunlap not holding himself accountable. I think Carl Lawson, he was getting pressure. He was getting there, and shout out to him because he seemed like the only one who was doing anything other than DJ Reader. Christian Cumberton on the inside held his own when it came to the run. But Sam Hubbard, Carl Lawson, Carlos Dunlap, both of those guys were non-existent when it comes to the pass rush. And I think that's an area, too, for the Bengals you really got to look at with Dunlap getting up there in age, with Lawson and Hubbard. You need to re-sign them. I think next offseason, that's a position you really got to address.
I thought Hubbard was their X factor. Like, coming into the year, I thought he was going to get some pressure against us, too. Pretty surprised there.
But even week 1, too, the pressure wasn't there. So I don't know if that's just the defensive line really missing Geno Atkins that much. I don't know if him not being out there is really having that much of an effect on the defensive line. And I guess we'll see next week. He'll probably be back out there. But we just need to – I need to see some pressure. And I think that's what will really make this defense stand out.
Also, it's like our O line and the Chargers O line are good in the interior, like Treader, Batonio for us, and Teller was played pretty well. Chargers
Heller,
have
really.
Trey Turner and Pouncey, so obviously there's some good interior linemen there. But yeah, Geno Atkins usually draws double teams, and he's been one of the best interior pass rushers for the last say 8 years. I mean, this dude has been really really good. So I mean, this Bengals team though it looks really promising. And you know what? As much as I love the Browns, I'm coming into Baker's rookie year. I was never the biggest fan just because of what he did to Ohio State, but dude, I think Joe Burrow has I really think he has the potential to be better than Baker. I think this
I
game,
think, I think
yeah,
the one thing about Joe that's really promising to me is you have a lot of first round guys who come in, and this is not me saying Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback, but I don't think we've seen a quarterback in his first 2 games do what Joe Burrow's done ever. Ever. I think Joe Burrow like you even go back to Manning. Manning was struggling
oh
his
yeah,
first
3 and
season.
13, terrible.
I think Burrow right now, like he's doing what a rookie quarterback has never done numbers wise. And for me,
Yeah.
seeing that, just knowing that this is going to be a guy who's going to be in Cincinnati for at least the next 10 years, that to me is very promising. And I know we lost, but we're a young team. We're going to have a lot coming for us. And it's not going to happen the first year. I think although you want to win every single
Yeah.
game, go 16-0, win the Super Bowl, all that stuff, it takes time. The NFL's a process. Mahomes didn't win it his first year in the league. Lamar hasn't won a playoff game yet.
Yep.
Baker's still trying to get there with that team. I mean, look at all the first round quarterbacks that have been drafted, you know. So I think for me right now, just seeing where Burrow's at in his first 2 games, I couldn't be any more happier with that.
I think his play for the first 2 games, I haven't seen it better in a while. Maybe Dak Prescott. I don't even think so back then. I think Baker had that iconic win against the Jets first game, which was pretty cool. But again, nowhere near the numbers Joe Burrow's had. This dude is playing really good. I did not expect these type of numbers. I knew he would be pretty good, but this, I mean, he was able to go 61 attempts and not throw a single interception. I think that's, and sure, as bad as the Browns linebackers played and safeties, Andrews and Dale, I I'm so done with him. Like I have yelled at the screen 50 times calling his name, especially dating back to the Ravens game. But that dude, hopefully we get Ronnie Harrison in there. But again, Joe Burrow looked really solid. I think this team's got potential. Where if you were to look at the AFC North after seeing, I mean, now the Browns are 1-1. I mean, the Steelers, Ravens look pretty good, but again, the Steelers were kind of playing the Giants. The Ravens look really good against the Browns. What do you see for this AFC North? Do you think it could? I mean, I have it as like the third best division. What do you see for this?
Oh, I'd say they're definitely up there. Honestly, it might shock some people. I know a lot of people think the AFC West is legit. But
NFC
I think this division is one of the is the hardest division to play in, and not even for the talent wise. And I think you look at the most important position all around in all the sports, which is quarterback, and you look at the guys um, in this division, and Burrow, Lamar, Baker, and Big
Big Ben.
Ben. And I mean, Big Ben's a veteran, but he can still sling it, and he's still gonna win games. He knows how to win games. That's what he specializes in now. You obviously got Lamar, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think you have the best prospect to come out in recent draft memory in Burrow, just doing what he does. And then Baker, when he's motivated,
Yeah.
he can look great like he did tonight. But that alone, and I think that's what makes this one of the hardest divisions in football. And I think that especially the AFC North defenses,
Mm-hmm.
they might not be the best in the league, but I think every single AFC North defense you play, you know it's going to be a hard-hitting game, a
They go
hard-nosed game.
after it.
It's going to be one in the trenches, and I think that's what it took. Now let me ask you something, Anish.
Yeah.
Who's one Browns player that you want to just give a shout? Who was your player of the game for the Browns tonight?
Oh my God, that's tough, dude. I really want. There's so I would probably I gotta give it to Denzel Ward. I have to. There's so many. I mean, I wanted to shout out Claiborne in the beginning of the game. I mean, T. Mitch had a good game, but Denzel Ward, I mean, again, 13 targets, 3 catches. He was everywhere. I swear, every time there was an incompletion, he had something to do with it. He was insane. I've been on the record for a while. I mean, as much as I respect Marlon Humphrey, I think Denzel Ward is a better corner than him. And when he played last year, he only allowed 1 touchdown, like less than a 50% completion percentage, less than a 62 passer rating, and he was hurt most of the year. That's crazy. So I think this dude it could be a top 5 corner by the end of this year. Don't quote me on that. I think he can be. I think he's top 10 borderline for sure. I think Denzel Ward was the player of the game. But again, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, we've seen what this Brown – like I'll ask you this now. I think this was the Browns' offense at its best, right? Would you kind of agree?
No, I 100%.
How far do you think this team could go? Let's say this year.
How far do I think? I think they can go. I think they can make it. I mean, they might be able to steal that second spot in the division, but when you're talking about it from this year's standpoint, you have a lot. There's still a lot in the air. Like the one thing about the Browns is obviously we saw their good side tonight. They were on fire tonight, and the only concern I have with the Browns is I don't know how long they can continue that. And yeah, they beat a team with Joe Burrow who was on fire, but the Bengals defense, it's not one of the best in the league. So they still definitely have a lot more to prove, which I know they will, but I definitely still think there's room for them to grow. And realistically here, if they can stay hot like this, they'll definitely make the playoffs. And I thought it was possible this year since the start that there will be 3 teams from the AFC North in the playoffs this year. I definitely think that's especially with the added wild card spot. So I can definitely see the Ravens getting the 1 seed, and then the Steelers and the Browns right behind them in the wild card. But I definitely think that's a possibility. But it just really all comes down to Baker Mayfield because we know he's not a very consistent quarterback.
Also, it's like against the Ravens, they were clearly outmatched. It wasn't even just like they played bad, but also it was like the Ravens were clearly better than them at pretty much every position. They just did. They clearly outmatched them. They outplayed them. But this game, I wouldn't say I'd say they were pretty even on both sides. Offensively, I think both of them did really well. Defensively, I think the Browns just made a little bit more plays defensively to win the game than the Bengals did. That's why I think the Browns walked out of here with a W. But I mean, but I think as a Browns fan, as much as I was so down on them when they lost to the Ravens, I couldn't tell. I was so down. But this win, I'm not going to say it changes everything, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. This wasn't like a win last year against the Jets with like Trevor Siemian and Luke Falk or whatever. This was like a decent win. As much as people say, oh, it's the Bengals. And when I see that, right, especially on these like Instagram posts dedicating the final, score or whatever, people don't watch the Bengals. I'm convinced because they act like this team is garbage or the same 2-14 team that was a year ago. No, it's not. They made a lot of additions in the secondary. They made a lot of additions on the defensive line with DJ Reader. That was a huge pickup. And offensively, again, T. Higgins, AJ Green is back. And their tight ends look really good. Drew Sample, 7 catches. Obviously, I think Osama's out for the year with or Usama, however you say, with the 20 kills. I don't know if you saw that. It looked terrible. Oh my God, that was so ugly to watch. But the tight ends look good, and that's great for a rookie quarterback who needs his tight ends, right? There's so much promise with the Cincinnati team. This division could be so great for years to come. If the Steelers could get a young quarterback, oh my God.
Now, let me ask you, where do you see the Browns going from here? You think they're going to carry this momentum? How do you feel about the upcoming schedule they have, and what do you think that they can do this year?
I had them – at first I had them 10-6, then I dropped them down. I thought 10-6 was a little bit too biased. I dropped them down a little bit. I had them at 9-7 coming into the year. And when they lost to the Ravens, I really thought if they lose to the Bengals, this team might go 6-10 again. I thought if they started off 0-2, it was just really a downfall. But now that they got this win, I think they have 10 days to build off it. And I think if they beat Washington, get a little bit of momentum, right? That Dallas game is very pivotal. I have them losing I had previously before the season, I had them losing. But if they continue it and go 3-1, I think 9-7 is a legit possibility. But I'm not going to rule out the possibility of 7-9, 8-8. This team hasn't had a winning season since 2007. Like, come on, man. I was 4, like so long ago. But again, this team's got a lot of promise. I'm going to stick with 9-7 as much as I'm skeptical on it. I'm going to stick with it. And I'm going to see how this team does because I did have them losing to Baltimore in my thing, obviously. But I also had them beating the Bengals. So let's see how it goes. But I'm sure you wouldn't have expected this game to be this high scoring or this close.
No, no. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that the Browns put up as many points as they did, but the fact that Joe Burrow came in there and threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns without turning the ball over other than the fumble where he was blindsided by Myles Garrett.
Yep.
Nothing you can do about that. I would not expect that, especially from quarterback in his second game in the NFL, and I couldn't be happier with Burrow.
And especially on a Thursday night, lights are bright, right? This shows people because, again, most people when they talk about these teams, I've talked a lot about it with my friends and a lot of our fans too. It's just guys who talk about it in the media don't really they don't have time to watch all 16 games. So obviously there are some players that they will have a misperception of. So like the Browns game, people thought it was a blowout throughout, whereas it was pretty close towards the end of the second quarter when then Odell dropped it, missed kick, blah, blah, blah. But same thing with the Bengals. I'm sure people didn't watch the full game with Joe Burrow against the Chargers. But now that people saw this on Thursday night, national TV, everyone gets to see it. This is great for the Cincinnati Bengals. I know they lost, but it gives them confidence in Joe Burrow, and it gives the media confidence in him too. And that helps a quarterback. And now, like, for example, Baker Mayfield, I know he had the interception, it was pretty bad, but this gives him confidence going in, and a confident Baker Mayfield is the best Baker Mayfield. And same thing with Joe Burrow. I think this dude the sky's the limit for this kid. I mean, like, I'm excited to watch. As much as, I don't want the Bengals to do better than the Browns, I'm excited to see this guy do well. To kind of wrap this up, dude, Jared, again, thank you so much for hopping on, dude. I know it's pretty late for you out there, but dude, guys, please follow his page, Bengals Central. I'm telling you, he's the best Bengals page out there. And
hey, hang on. As of right now, this will actually be fun to do. As of right now,
yeah,
11 followers away from 10K.
So please get him to 10K. Like, this is my guy. He showed so much support for us, and we literally, I don't think we would have gotten this far without this guy. I mean, this dude is a great friend of mine. Appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate you, brother. And, I got to get you on mine over there pretty soon, too.
For sure, dude. For sure.
We can do a recap of the game, too. But, yeah, appreciate you for having me on, bro.
Of course, guys. And, again, links will be down below in the description. Of course, we'll shout out Jared's as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.